Hey guys, this is lesson 7.1 and 7.2 for course 2. It's kind of long and there's a lot of notes, so just be ready. All right, so first you need to write these four things down. We have a point, which is just a dot and it has a letter, like an A, a B, a C. It can have any letter. They just label it with a letter. A line connects any 2 points. So like this is line N and it goes through points A and B. And then over here, this is how you would write it. You would write A, B, and then you draw a little line on the top with arrows going on either direction. A ray is a little bit different. It still goes through points A and B. However, this point is it just starts there. And then it goes towards B forever. So when you write a ray, you're going to write it with a line with just one arrow on the end. So make sure you're writing down the definition, the example, and then how to write it. And then a segment goes between point A and B, and it doesn't go off in either direction. There's no arrows. So if I were to write a segment, I would just have a straight little line on the top. Okay, so next we have parallel lines and intersecting lines. I'm pretty sure you probably know what parallel lines are. I always look at these two L's right here in parallel and remember that, oh, parallel lines go the same direction and they will never intersect. Intersecting lines are just like these two, for example. They just intersect at one spot. Okay, angle. So write down angle and vertex. Here's angle. It is a shape formed by two lines or rays starting from a common point, the vertex. So here is an example. So you're going to want to write vertex. Now this is the angle, and normally they say it in a degree. So if I were to take out a protractor, I could measure this and say, oh, this is 42 degrees. And then they would say, oh, that's the angle C, and it's 42 degrees. A vertex is the point at which two line segments intersect. So it's this point C is the vertex. It's kind of like the middle of the angle. All right, so there are 4 types of angles that you need to make sure you have in your notes. So there's an acute angle, which means this angle right here is anywhere between 0 and 90 degrees. So it can be that 42 degree one, it can be 17 degrees, anything between 0 and 90. Really 0 and 89, because then a right angle is 90 degrees, and there's only one of those. So there's anything with a 90 degree angle is a right angle. This is the one is so commonly used because we use it all the time in construction. When we're building houses, if you don't have a right angle, your house is going to get all falling in on itself. Obtuse angles is this angle measure is between 91 and 180 degrees. So it's anything larger. And then a straight angle, so it just goes straight across. If I were to measure that, it would be 180 degrees. So I always remember this by saying acute. Oh, it's little and cute. That's how I remember that angle is less than 90. And then obtuse is big and fat. Obtuse or obese, I don't know, is a big angle, so it's big and fat. And then right angle and straight angle, you kind of can just know what those are. All right, so a couple more terms. Adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. So if you look at this, you have angle B, and you might measure that and say, oh, this is 40 degrees. And then angle A, I might measure that and say, oh, this is 60 degrees. So those are adjacent angles, which means they're right next to each other. Vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. So B and D are vertical angles, and then A and C are vertical angles also, because they're directly across from each other when they form an X. Congruent angles have the same measure. So congruent, the word congruent means same. Make sure you write that down. So if I say, are these angles congruent? It just means, are these the same angle? Do they equal the same amount? And vertical angles are always congruent. So like A, if A is 66 degrees, C is also going to be 66 degrees, and they're going to be congruent because they're directly across from each other and they're using the same lines, so therefore they have the same angle measure. All right, supplementary, we're almost done, and complementary angles. So now, supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees, and complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So you know when you're doing the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, okay, and so on. I always remember this. You have to have memory tricks, okay? C is early in the alphabet. It's at the beginning of the alphabet, and those add up to 90. S is towards the end of the alphabet, and it's longer, greater, so that adds up to 180. So C stands for complementary angles, and S stands for supplementary angles. So complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So a 50 and a 90, see here, 50 plus 90. Those are complementary. They add up to 90. And supplementary add up to 180. So just remember, C is at the beginning of the alphabet and S is later on down. All right, so here's a couple examples. So if angle A and angle B are supplementary, what is the measure of angle A when angle B is 24? Angle C and angle D are complements. If angle C is 15, what is the measure of angle D? So try these problems, push pause, and then we'll go over them. Okay, so angle A and angle B are supplementary. Supplementary means they add up to 180 degrees. So if what is angle A when angle B is 24? So I have 180 minus 24, because 24 degrees is angle B. So I'm going to subtract these. So then I get 156. So angle A, so you can also write it like this, that little angle sign with an A, equals 150, not 9, 156 degrees. Angle C and angle D are complements. Now, remember that complements, it's at the beginning of the alphabet, so that means it is a 90 degrees. If angle C is 15, what is D? So I'm going to take my 90 and I'm going to subtract 15 because that's angle C. So then I know that angle D is 75 degrees. All right, find the measure of angles 1, 2, 3, and 4 if angle 4 is 53 degrees. So, okay, angle 4 equals 53 degrees. Now think. What did I tell you is the exact same as angle 4? Well, you should have said angle 2. They are vertical angles and they're across from each other and they're the exact same. So now I know that angle 2 equals 53 degrees and I know angle 4 equals 53 degrees. So now I have to find out my other two. Well, if I erase this, and if I highlight this area right here, look at this line right there. What is that line? Well, that is a straight angle, which equals 180 degrees. So I know that angle 4 is 53, and I have to add it to angle 1 and then I should get 180 degrees. So I'm going to take 180, I'm going to minus 53. So then I get 127. So look at this. Okay, so 1 and 4, they're on the same line. They're on that straight line. So they have to equal 180. So then I double check. Does 127 plus 53 equal 180? And yes, it does. So now I know that angle 1 equals 127 degrees. And then the one directly across from it, the adjacent, or not adjacent, vertical angle, angle 3, is the same. It is also 127 degrees. All right, that is it for your notes for these two lessons.